Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to another lecture here sa isa sa mga best subjects there is. Tama ba? Best subject. O feeling ko lang. Understanding the self. Today we're going to talk about the emotional self. This is part 2. Obviously, kung may part 2, there was part 1. I suggest you watch that first before watching this. Here in part 2, our focus more is on emotional intelligence, also known as EQ. And in psychology, we have so many Qs, right? We have IQ, we have EQ. Mag-side comment lang ako, did you know na meron din tayong SQ? Stands for Spiritual Intelligence. I'm going to talk about that in our last lecture. But for the meantime, ang focus lang natin ngayon is on EQ, but it's worth comparing EQ with IQ. If you remember our lecture last time, we compared intellectual condition with a person's emotional condition. So magkaiba yung EQ, emotions, sa intellect, intelligence. Here are some of the differences of EQ and IQ. Just read on your own silently. Pause the video if you need to. Ayan. Now, the thing is, one trivia about EQ in comparison to IQ, according to studies, EQ is a much powerful predictor of life success compared to IQ. Now, don't get me wrong, hindi sinasabi ng mga studies that IQ it's not important. It is, but if you're going to compare the weight, sa Tagalog yung bigat, in terms of predicting overall success, it seems like EQ is weightier, it's heavier than IQ. Sabi nga ng isang author by the name of Daniel Goleman, one of the researchers that focus on EQ, sounds familiar? Ito, siya yung nagsulat niyan. Going back to that book by Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, I highly recommend you read this book. If you want to learn more about EQ, he said in one of the chapters, if your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can't have empathy and have effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are, sounds familiar? That's intelligence. No matter how smart you are, kahit gaano pa kataas yung intellect mo, anong sabi niya? You are not going to get very far. Because again, EQ has a very significant power in predicting a person's overall success. Kaya nga ang application dito, if you want to be successful, sino dito gusto maging successful? Taas ang kamay. Yan. One thing to prioritize in your self-development, in your self-improvement is to work on your EQ. Mahalaga din yung IQ, pero kung ipaprioritize mo, anong uunahin mo? EQ and then IQ. So EQ is defined this way. There are other definitions. You can read the other definitions, but for the sake of discussion, ito yung gagamitin natin. EQ is the ability of a person to handle emotions of self and others constructively. I want to emphasize on those two words, self and others. I want to say that 3 times because it's very important. Self and others, self and others, self and others. When we talk about emotions, you have to be concerned about both. Two sides of the same coin. Package deal. Hindi pwedeng isa lang. Dapat pareho. Both self and others. Babalansihin mo yung self issues sa others issue. Hindi pwedeng extreme ka. You cannot just think about your own emotions and forget others. And vice versa, you cannot just forget yourself and think about what others feel. It has to be a balance of both. After all, that is the overall design of life. Life is meant for us to be interdependent with each other. Sinabi sa Bible yan. Diba? Sabi sa Bible, it is not good for a man to be alone, which means we are created for interdependency. After mo isipin yung sarili mo, iisipin mo rin yung ibang tao. Dapat meron tayong pakialam sa iba. So for instance, how do you apply this? If you ask yourself, how are you doing? Is that a good question to ask? Of course. Dapat once in a while, kinakamusta natin yung sarili natin. Diba? How are we doing? Are we doing well? Are we doing fine? Are we hitting our goals? Are we getting our needs? Those are good questions in connection to ourselves. But don't stop there. After asking yourself how you are doing, you should have a natural concern to think about how other people are doing. Magkaroon ka rin ng pakialam sa mga tao sa paligid mo. Another question, what do I need? It's not a good or it's not a bad question to ask. It's good. What do you need? What are the things that you need to have? Ano ba yung mga needs mo na kailangan mo? How can you get it? How can you get these things for yourself? Those are good things. But after asking about what you need, you should have a natural concern to what other people need. Wag lang puro kailangan mo isipin mo sa Tagalog. Isipin mo rin kung may kailangan ba yung ibang tao at kaya mo bang ibigay yung mga pangangailangan nila. This is what we call the neighbor mentality. You are not only concerned with yourself, but you have a natural, a healthy concern with other people. Neighbor mentality ang tawag dyan. In fact, St. John Baptist de La Salle had that neighbor mentality, the reason why we have La Salle schools today. If you study the history or biography of St. John Baptist de La Salle, he could have just enjoyed his life because he came from a rich family. Diba? Pwede na lang niya i-meet yung mga needs niya, yung mga wants niya. Magpahinga na lang siya sa bahay, do what he wants. But La Salle has good emotional intelligence. He has a neighbor mentality. Yes, he needs something. Yes, he is now okay. But how about the people around him? How about the people outside his home? Nagkaroon siya ng natural concern with who? The least, the last, and the lost. And then from there, that's where La Salle Schools was established. It's based on this foundation. That La Salle took note, responded to the needs of his neighbors. Fast forward from the times of St. John Baptist de La Salle, 2026, this is the entire reason why the entire Lasallian curriculum, one of the educational philosophy is service. Tatlo yan di ba? Faith, service, and communion. Dito papasok yung service. Why is it La Salle students are always trained in the school through the curriculum to always have community services, to always help the society because it's part of the mission? To have a neighbor's mentality, to be concerned with the needs of other people. Because that's what you mean by being emotionally healthy. Hindi ka makasarili, meron ka rin pakialam sa ibang tao. Even St. Paul of the Bible would agree with that Diba? Isa sa mga paalala niya, let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others, self and others. It should be a balance of both. That is an expression of emotional intelligence. That's why I want you to reflect right now. Pause the video if you need to. Who are your neighbors in need right now? Are there any people in your life right now you consider your neighbors and they need something? And the thing is, you have some extra. Meron kang paraan, meron kang resources to get or to give them those things that they need. Would it be too much if you respond and give them those things that they need? That's one good way to improve ourselves, responding to the needs of other people. But before we leave this part, I want you to practice your critical thinking. There is a very popular ideology today called the self-love movement, wherein the priority here is the self, to always be happy, always get what you need, diba? Express what you want to express, say what you want to say. The number one priority is yourself. I love myself. It's a very popular ideology. Marami nagpo-promote ng mga influencer dyan. Marami mga artista, yan ang motto sa buhay. Love yourself. Now, practice critical thinking. Do you think this ideology, given the definition of EQ, going back, self and others, do you think that ideology will strengthen or weaken a person's emotional intelligence? Especially today, there are many people who are subscribing to this kind of ideology. Do you think that would explain why people have poorer emotional intelligence today? Or people today have stronger emotional intelligence given the self-love movement? Pause the video, reflect. If you want to share your answers, pwede mong ilagay dyan sa comment section. Now, let's talk about emotional intelligence. It is an umbrella term. It is a general term that is consisting of 4 smaller skills. So if you say, I want to be emotionally smart, what do? You need to practice these 4 smaller skills. Emotional awareness, emotional management, social emotional awareness, and relationship management. Now, one way to understand these 4 is to divide these 4 into 2 groups. The first 2 emotional skills are skills that we use in handling our self's emotion, while numbers 3 and 4 are emotional skills that we use in handling other people's emotions. Sounds familiar? Self and others. This is in line. This is consistent with the definition of emotional intelligence, which is, again, it's about self and others. And as I discuss these 4, I want you to reflect and be honest with yourself. How are you doing in each of these 4 emotional skills? Number 1, let's talk about emotional awareness. This is a person's overall the ability to identify what emotions he or she is feeling and why you are feeling that emotion. Sa Tagalog, alam mo ba kung anong tawag sa emotion na nararamdaman mo at alam mo ba kung bakit mo nararamdaman yung emotion na yon? Let's talk about the what emotion. One of the basic emotional skills is you know what your emotions are called. Tama ba? Alam mo kung anong tawag sa emotion mo. Alam mo na ang tawag dyan galit. Alam mo na ang tawag dyan lungkot. Alam mo na ang tawag dyan inggit. That's very important because, especially for negative emotions, you wouldn't know how to deal with it if you don't know what it is in the first place. Don't you agree? So it's very important in handling negative emotions, you know what it's called. Parang sa doktor, di ba? Kaya dapat may diagnosis muna bago treatment. The same thing here. What is your negative emotion? So that you would know how to deal with it the right way. Now, have you ever felt an emotion not knowing what emotion is it? Dumating ka na ba sa ganyang panahon o ganyang time where may nararamdaman ka emotionally, your body is reacting. Mabilis ang pintig ng puso mo, your palms are sweaty, your throat is dry. You know you're feeling something but you don't exactly know what is it called. If you have so many instances like that, you are struggling to identify those emotions, then most likely mababa yung emotional awareness mo. If you cannot think of any time that this happened to you, then maybe okay yung emotional awareness mo. Okay, so that's one way to gauge this. But emotional awareness also has something to do with why you are feeling certain emotions. The thing is, dito, you already know what emotion that you feel. You can name the emotions. It's just that this time, do you know why? Do you know the reason why you are feeling that emotion? Have you ever felt an emotion not knowing why? Nangyari na ba sa iyan? May nararamdaman ka, alam mong galit ka, alam mong masaya ka, alam mong na-anxious ka, pero hindi mo maramdaman o hindi mo ma-explain kung bakit. You don't know where it's coming from. What could be the different reasons? Number 1, according to emotional researchers, we have what we call emotional bombardment. Emotional bombardment means in our society today, we are living in a technological time where we are feeling multiple emotions all at the same time via different information. Meron tayong information overload. Those information make us feel mixtures of emotions. One example there would be browsing social media. Tama ba? Buksan mo yung Facebook mo, mag-browse ka ng social media, mag-browse ka ng 30 minutes, you will feel different emotions out of different information. Diba? You're gonna read about wars, you're gonna read about relationships, cheating, oil price hike, politics. What do you feel? Mixture of emotions. And because of those information overload leading to multiple emotions, it comes to a point you can no longer match where this emotion comes from. Kumbaga sa Tagalog, nagkakabuhol-buhol. Ano ba sa English yung buhol? Entangled. The emotions are entangled with the different information that you are internalizing all at the same time. That's why if you want to keep in touch with your emotions, you really want to see the connection between your emotion and its source, what do? You go to a retreat. And when you say retreat, it means you go to a place where there are less distractions. Kaya nga, ang tamang retreat, you don't use your phone, you don't use your laptop. You go to a faraway place, far from distraction, ideally close with nature, and then you reflect about your feelings and detect where does that feeling come from. Diba? Because finally, if you are in that place, all your emotions come down, the busyness of your mind goes down, you become more relaxed, and it's easier for you to connect this emotion with this reason. Diba? Kaya after the retreat, you end up being more enlightened about yourself. Another theory why we have emotions that we are unaware of is what we call repressed emotions by Sigmund Freud. Sometimes may mga emotions tayo that we feel and we don't know where it's coming from because the reason is hidden inside your unconscious according to Freud. It was repressed in the first place. You just read on your own. Why are some memories repressed? Basahin nyo na lang yan. But those repressed memories, those repressed things in our life consistently affect our emotions in the conscious mind. So you tend to feel things that you don't know why you're feeling it. Bakit ba ako nagagalit? Hindi ko alam bakit. Bakit ba ako naiinis? Wala naman akong reason para mainis. Or even positive emotions. Bakit ba para ang saya-saya ko? Pero hindi ko ma-pinpoint exactly saan nanggagaling yung happiness ko. What would Freud say? That all the reasons of your emotions are repressed inside your unconscious mind. That's why that will lead you to ask this question: what other emotions do you feel now that you don't know you are feeling? Is that even possible? Meron kang emotion pero hindi mo alam na meron ka palang ganong emotion. Freudian framework would tell you that the answer is yes. Specifically, let's say when it comes to being in love. This is a very controversial question. Is it possible to be in love with someone and not know it? Posible ba yun? Have you seen someone being in love with another person but that person doesn't know he or she is in love? Or maybe ikaw ito. Di ba? Paisip-isip ka pa ng ibang tao, ikaw pala yan. Yung mahal mo yung tao na hindi mo alam na mahal mo siya. Again, Freudian framework would say that's very possible. Which leads us to this very important insight given what Freud is saying about the mind. That there are things about our emotions we cannot totally understand. Can you really totally understand yourself? Well, base it on what Freud is saying, and if you're gonna be honest to yourself, it seems like that the answer here is no. There are still a lot of things about yourself that you don't know about you. And instead of scaring you, this should humble you. Diba? Kasi minsan nakakatakot isipin yan, no? Hindi mo pa alam what you are capable of doing. Hindi mo pa alam what you are capable of saying. Because you don't know everything about yourself because it's in your unconscious. Now, instead of being scared, be humble. So, wag mo sasabihin sa isang tao na, wag mo kong le-lecturean about myself because I am the best person who knows myself. There are times other people may know you better than yourself. You know why? Because other people around you may see the things about you that you don't see yourself because it's in the unconscious. Ang tawag nila dyan, blind spots. Though you don't know these things about you because it's unconscious, people around you can see. And so when they call you, when they talk to you and give you insights about yourself and you are humble enough to listen and accept what they are observing, it can add to your insights about yourself. Mas makikilala mo yung sarili mo kapag natuto kang makinig sa sinasabi ng mga ibang tao. But again, it takes humility to do that. Because I know many people, and sometimes I'm guilty of this, we are so confident to say, don't you say things about me because I am the best person to talk about me. So I hope Freud right here taught you something new. That it makes sense to also listen to the counsel of others as they see some of your unconscious parts. Let's move on to number 2. Let's talk about emotional management, which refers to your ability to control your emotions. Remember my analogy last time in part 1, you are the person here and your horse is your emotion. You should be managing your emotions, not your emotions managing you. The moment that this horse manages the person, this person is in danger. 'Di ba? Kapag yan nagwala, tapos nag-wild yung horse, tapos yung tao hindi niya alam paano ko kontrolin, this person is in danger. The same thing with emotions. If your emotions eat you alive, you end up doing things, saying things that lead to harming yourself or harming other people. Kaya dapat ikaw ang may control sa emotions mo. Let's pause this video and then you ask yourself, ikaw ba, what certain emotions do you find hard to handle? Talagang you would admit that these emotions are eating you alive. Every time you feel this, you find it hard to control it. What emotions are this? Ilagay nyo dyan sa comment section if you want to share. Let me give you some examples of emotions that are really challenging to control. Number 1 is pressure. Diba? The problem is we feel pressured anywhere. You cannot escape pressure. Kahit saan ka pumunta, sa family may pressure. Sa school may pressure. Sa sports may pressure. And the thing is, if you are not able to handle your pressure the right way, it will affect your performance, especially let's say in sports. Okay ka naman sa practice ba't ang galing-galing mo sa practice? Pero pagdating sa tunay na laro, you are not performing that well. Answer, pressure is eating up your performance. Diba? Because you keep on thinking about what other people would say. You keep on focusing on things that you are not supposed to focus on. So the pressure is getting stronger and stronger. It's affecting your muscles. It affects your movements in your sport. So you end up underperforming. Hindi ka tuloy nakakascore. Diba? Kaya nga sabi nila in sports psychology, handling pressure is one of the best ability that great athletes have. They get better under pressure. Average athletes, they get worse under pressure. Talk about Kobe Bryant, talk about Michael Jordan. The higher the pressure they experience, mas gumagaling. Diba? I-pressure mo si Michael Jordan, i-score ng 55 points. Pressurein mo si Kobe Bryant, i-score ng 65 points. Because they know how to manage their pressure constructively. They turn pressure into better performance. Another one is anger. Do you agree? Especially when you read the news today. Oh my goodness, there are a lot of people today eaten up by their anger. Specifically, we're in the road. Kaya tayo may mga road rages. Kaya sa mga eskwelahan, may mga nangyayaring mga away-away because many people today needs training, proper emotional training and coaching to handle anger better. Or even frustration, 'di ba? You want a goal, you want to achieve a certain goal, but there are obstacles in front of you, you get frustrated to the point you give up. 'Di ba? Isa 'yan sa mga isa 'yan sa mga effect ng frustration, you give up in your goal. You give up your goal. Ayoko na nga. Trinay ko naman ayoko na. There you go. Kaya mo naman pala talaga, nag-give up ka, napadala ka lang ng emotion mo, napadala ka lang ng frustration mo. Diba? So, it's very important to control certain emotions. And speaking of emotional control in psychology, one of the best studies that demonstrate that is the marshmallow test. You can just read on your own what happened in the marshmallow test, but just a bird's eye view in this test, children are brought in a laboratory and the experimenter showed them a marshmallow. And the instruction was, I'm going to leave you in this room with this marshmallow. Your task is, sabihin sa bata, your task is not to eat the marshmallow in any way. Resist the temptation. Resist your desire to eat the marshmallow. When I come back and I see that the marshmallow is uneaten, you're able to wait. I'm going to double the marshmallow. And so the experimenter leaves the room and then the child is left with the marshmallow all by him or herself. So you can only imagine the struggle, the emotional struggle of these children resisting themselves to eat the marshmallow. You can just go online via YouTube and find renditions of this test. You can find a lot. All right? Now, to make the long story short, fast forward, one of the findings that they discovered in this test is there is a very important personality trait given this test that predicts a person's positive life outcomes. And one of those outcomes is general success. If a person is going to be successful in life, this personality trait is very evident in the marshmallow test. These are the kids who were able to wait, who were able to delay their gratification into eating the marshmallow. In psychological terms, ang tawag natin dyan is conscientiousness. Let me zoom it in. Ito yung ibig sabihin ng conscientiousness. It's a very important personality trait. If you study the literature on conscientiousness, there are many outcomes. Marami mga epekto ang conscientiousness na maganda sa sarili. Specifically, overall life success. When we talk about financial success, relationship success, career success, school success, conscientiousness is a powerful predictor of all those successes. Kaya nga sabi ng mga psychologists, if there is one personality trait that we need to prioritize to develop among young people in school, it is this one, conscientiousness. Unfortunately, many young people today, because of our culture, where we are trained to have immediate gratification, poor ang conscientiousness. Marami ngayon gusto immediate gratification. I remembered one time during the pandemic, nag-viral ito, 'di ba? Merong isang student na may online class siya, pero habang nag-online class siya, hindi niya mapigilan sarili niya na nag-Call of Duty siya. Problem, he forgot to mute his laptop. So while he was playing an online game, his teacher on the other laptop can hear him playing with the game. And he doesn't realize na napansin na pala siya ng teacher niya. But again, the point here is, that's a classic example of having low levels of delayed gratification. 'Di ba? In that situation, yes, gusto mong mag-Call of Duty, wala namang problema doon, pero dapat meron kang ability to delay it first. Mamaya na yung Call of Duty kasi may online class ako, I need to focus here. After this one, then I will play online game. That takes a lot of conscientiousness. Yun nga lang, in that example, it seems like that student had low levels of conscientiousness. Now, what do you think? When we talk about emotional control, what factors make it hard for a person to control emotions? And when I ask this to students, marami silang mga magagandang sagot na binibigay, like biology. And by the way, that is true. There are some people who have poor emotional control because of the way their nervous system is programmed in utero. May ganun talaga, mabilis magalit biologically, mabilis mainis, mabilis ma-frustrate, kasi ganun talaga yung programming ng mga nerves nila. May mga parts ng brain nila na hindi ganun ka-efficient yung nerve wiring, no? So, totoo naman yun. But, don't use biology as an excuse not to improve yourself emotionally. In case na ganun ka, wag kang laging doon nagtatago sa ganung reason to justify your poor emotional control. Diba? Bahala kayo. You take me or leave me. Lagi akong galit. Kasi ganito ako pinanganak . Intindihin nyo yung mga nerves ko. That's not a good excuse. Because remember, though you have biology in shaping your emotional management skills, there is another more powerful force that can overpower your biology, and that would be your environment. Pwede ka namang mag-emotional coaching. Pwede ka naman mag-parental monitoring. Pwede ka naman magbasa ng mga libro, manood ng mga videos that will teach you how to manage your emotions better. So meron ka pa ring responsibility to improve whatever biologically predisposed emotional skill you have. Does that make sense? So wag lagi nagtatago sa biological excuse to justify poor emotional control. Now, another possible answer to this question is, could it be that certain ideologies can also affect the way you manage your emotions? Halimbawa, yung self-love movement. Again, anong ibig sabihin ng self-love movement? Yourself is the priority. Your priority or your goal is to be happy. Just say what you want to say. Express what you want to express. You need to be validated. Ganyan. Tingin mo kung ganun yung ideology mo, self-love movement, critical thinking tayo, do you think that would affect the way you manage your emotions? If your answer is yes, in what way? Do you think that kind of ideology will make you better or worse in expressing your emotions? Something to think about. If you have thoughts on this, ilagay nyo sa comment section. Another emotional management issue is venting out. Sa Tagalog, yung nilalabas mo, yung emotion mo. Because, we have this theory. When we feel a certain emotion and we vent out, we externalize it. Halimbawa, anger. Pag nagagalit ka, sisigaw ka, kukunin mo yung punching bag, susuntok-suntok ka doon, or kukuha ka ng plato, babasagin mo, because the theory is when you express anger goes down, making it easier to control. Who among you here are like that? You externalize, you vent out your anger. Now, a common debate in psychology when it comes to venting out is, does it really make that emotion that you vented out easier to control after doing it? Talaga bang bumababa yung emotion mo kapag vent out mo? Well, some studies are saying na mukhang the answer is no. Well, you can read this on your own if you want, kung makuha nyo tong handout na to, no? In this article, an experiment was done showing that when you vent out a certain emotion, I think if I'm not mistaken, in this case, anger, what happens is your anger does not go down, rather, it intensifies. And so the author of this study, ang isa sa mga recommendations niya in handling anger is not to vent it out, but rather to just do nothing. Kasi daw pag vent out mo, it's like putting gas on fire. 'Di ba? May apoy na nga, galit ka na nga, vent out mo, ang equivalent no, nilagyan mo pa ng gas yung fire. So lalong tumaas yung fire. Lalong lumakas yung fire, I mean. Okay? So the best thing to do daw when you're angry is just be still. Everybody say be still. Yan. I know it's a challenge to do. You're so angry but you are practicing be still. It's a challenge but that's what the data shows eh. Mas hindi raw tumataas yung level of anger if you are being still in spite of your anger. But then again, at the end of the day, this is science. We just go back to the question, what works for you? 'Di ba? Kung nag-vent out ka and then talagang bumababa yung anger mo, then why not? All right? Number 3, we talk about social emotional awareness. Now we have crossed over from numbers 1 and 2. Now we enter numbers 3 and 4. This is the first emotional skill in connection to your ability to handle other people's emotions. So social emotional awareness is your ability to read and anticipate other people's emotions. Gaano ka kagaling magbasa at abangan ang mararamdaman ng isang tao. Kapag magaling kang magbasa, you can anticipate what will a person feel about a certain situation. Most likely maganda yung social emotional awareness mo. Siguro a more popular term for number 3 is what we call social sensitivity. How sensitive are you to the feelings of other people? And when I discuss this in our synchronous classes, I ask the class this question: do you think when we talk about social sensitivity, people today are better or worse than people in the past? If we compare generations, for example, do you think millennials today are, or not millennials, Gen Zs are better in emotional awareness than the previous generations? What do you think? You can pause the video and think about that. You compare boomers with Gen Xers, with Gen Z, with Gen Xers, whatever, different generations. Who do you think has the best social emotional awareness skill? And who has the worst? And most importantly, why? Another input I want to share here in connection to being sensitive to what other people would feel is truth transmission. Diba? Should truth be withheld just because someone will be hurt? Kasi ang truth nakaka-trigger talaga ng emotions yan, especially negative emotions. Sabi nga nila, the truth hurts, right? So what's your stand here? Let's say you know someone and you're close with this person and this person is believing in a lie and you know the truth that should replace the lie. Question is, would you communicate with this person the truth even if this person will be hurt? So ano ngayon ang pipiliin mo? Which one for you is more important? The person knows the truth and get hurt? Or just withhold the truth so the person remains happy? Something like that. Kasi sa society natin ngayon, isa yan sa mga struggles eh. Especially today, people are very hypersensitive that there are times if you tell the truth and they get hurt, they take it against you. So is it better in today's society to just withhold the truth? Just for the sake of protecting what they feel. But, you also have to think, what would be the mass effect of that? Let's say we live in a society where this becomes the culture. We are in a culture of protecting each other's feelings. Bawal ma-feel bad. Hindi na baling wag mo sabihin yung truth basta walang ma-feel bad. Do you think in the long run, that will be a good society? What are your thoughts? Share in the comment section. And then last one, we have relationship management skills. Anong ibig sabihin yan? What do you think? What are the different emotional skills that when people do in the context of relationships, the relationship will become stronger? This is how number 4 differs from number 3. Number 3 kasi you can just read and anticipate emotions, right? But number 4 is the most applied of all the 4 because number 4 talks about, do you know how to handle? Do you know what to do? Do you know what to say, what not to say to a person who is emotional? What do you say? What do you not say to a person who is angry? What do you say? What do you not say to a person who is frustrated? Let's say you have a spouse and your spouse opens up to you and told you that he or she is jealous to your office mate. How do you give your spouse assurance? That's relationship management skill. 'Di ba? Now, in connection to this, this guy by the name of John Gottman did a hardcore research. He wanted to know what are different emotional skills that make marriages work. So, ang focus niya dito, marriage. Okay? So, he studied thousands and thousands of married couples and studied what are the emotional skills that both apply that explain why they are successful in their marriages. Bakit nagtatagal sila ng 25 years, ng 30 years, some even 40 years. So, he was able to compile all those emotional skills and he was able to wrote a book on that. And the book is entitled The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. Although this book is about marriage, he claims that the emotional skills that he presents here can also be applied in other forms of relationships. Pwede rin daw yan sa friendship, sa parental relationship, romantic relationship, whatever. It can be generalized. Now, we don't have enough time to talk about all the 7. So I would just present the top 3. Okay, so if you want to know the other 4, you can just buy and read this book. At number 3, according to Gottman, one relationship management skill very important in strong relationships is your ability to respond. He calls this responsiveness. How good you are in reading that your partner needs something, and without you being told, you immediately respond to give that need of your partner. Sa Tagalog, magaling ka bang magbasa na yung partner mo may need, may kailangan, at kahit hindi niya sinasabi, ibibigay mo kaagad yung kailangan niya. That's a very important emotional management skill or relationship management skill. Imagine if both of you are like that to each other, the relationship will be good. At number 2, sabi ni John Gottman, gratitude. What is the ratio of your praise in relation to complaints? Ano mas marami? According to John Gottman, that's a very important ratio that will determine the quality of your relationship. The moment that you have more complaints than gratitude or than praises, your relationship will be in danger. Dapat daw ang ratio is 5:1. For every 1 complaint that you have to replace that with 5 praises. So for those of you right now who are in a relationship, that's one way to gauge the quality of your relationship. How many praise do you give? How many praises do you give to your partner relative to the complaints that you express? Okay? Sana ma-achieve niyo yung 5:1 ratio, no? And last one, number 1, is empathy. Your ability to put yourself into another person's situation and understand exactly why a person is feeling something. Ang tawag doon, empathy. Sa Tagalog, hindi na niya kinakailangan ipaliwanag yung sarili niya kung bakit niya nararamdaman yon. Sa galing mo mag-empathize, kasi pinagdaanan mo rin yon, you exactly know what that person is undergoing. So you don't judge the person. You listen to the person. You validate the person because you understand what the person is going through. Now, I want you to reflect again on numbers 1, 2, and 3. What do you notice about numbers 1, 2, and 3? These are relationship management skills that are very other-centered. 'Di ba? Para maging magaling ka sa numbers 1, 2, and 3, dapat ang focus mo is on what others feel. Now, i-connect mo ulit yan to the self-love movement. And let's practice critical thinking. Do you think that ideology, self-love movement, is in line with these important relationship management skills? Do you think by loving yourself, by prioritizing yourself, do you think in the process of doing that, it will enhance or will it deteriorate these 3 relationship management skills? Mas magiging magaling ka ba sa empathy, gratitude, and responsiveness if you focus to yourself so much as what this ideology would teach you? Something to think about as you're having your dinner. If you have any thoughts on this, ilagay nyo dyan sa comment section. Pwede kayang hitting 2 birds with 1 stone yan, that as you love yourself, you also become better here? What do you think? As I end this lecture, some other important emotional questions that are worth asking. Alright, number 1, is there such a thing as wrong emotions? That's a good question to ask. Because in our society today, we have this general understanding that whatever emotion a person feels must be respected, must be validated. But let's practice critical thinking. Are there any limits on that? Are there certain emotions na kapag na-feel mo, masasabi mong hindi tama? Are there wrong emotions? Are all emotions meant to be validated? Or are there certain emotions that needs to be corrected? Something to think about. Number 2, do you think emotions can justify behaviors? Can you just do something simply because you feel it, regardless whether it's right or wrong? And people should just respect you of what you feel. Bakit mo sinuntok? Nainis ako eh. Respect nyo na nainis ako. Is that a good reason to justify bakit ka nanuntok? Number 3, are negative emotions always unhealthy? Because again, another popular ideology we have in our society is the feel-good ideology. Bawal dito negative vibes. Dapat good vibes lang. If you feel bad in a place, if you feel bad in doing something, then maybe that's not right for you. You just do what makes you happy. Dapat puro lang tayo positive emotions. Is that a good principle to live by? Is it accurate when you say all negative emotions are unhealthy? Or is it possible that there are certain negative emotions na nakakaganda pa pala sa dulo? Meron kayang magandang effect yung emotion of sadness in the long run? Meron kayang magandang effect yung emotion of guilt or shame or fear in the long run? Something to think about. Should we always avoid negative emotions and run after positive emotions? Number 4, should emotions guide morality? Especially, again, that popular teaching, follow your heart. When it comes to what's right and what's wrong, can you rely on what you feel to help you identify what's right from what's wrong? If it feels right, then it's right. If it feels wrong, then it's wrong. Is that a good principle to live by? Hayaan mo ang puso mo ang magdikta kung ano ang tama. Something to think about. And last one, number 5, should emotions determine your reality? Because, people have that tendency, we tend to believe the reality based on what our heart dictates. Common yan sa mga relationships, di ba? Alam mo, sa tingin ko, hindi mo na ako mahal. Tapos, tatanungin ka, bakit mo naman nasabi na hindi na kita mahal? Anong isasagot? Kasi feeling ko, hindi mo na ako mahal eh. To what extent should we trust our feelings in determining what's real? Sabi nga sa Bible, di ba? Totoo ba yung sinabi sa Bible? That the heart is deceitful above all things. How accurate is that? Is it true that the more we rely with our emotions, the higher our error rates compared to if we base reality on logic and on our heads instead of the heart? Something to think about. Alright? So those are the 2 lectures under the emotional self. Again, if you have any questions or comments, ilagay nyo lang dyan sa baba until the next lecture. Wait lang. Sir Howard here. God bless everyone. Ingat kayong lahat. Bye-bye.